Not long ago, we were stuck, grinding jobs we hated. But there's so much more to life than that.
We decided to do everything that everyone told us could not be done. Now we're flipping houses, we own multiple companies, and we're here to prove that you never have to settle for mediocrity.
I tour with my band, we run our companies together, and we've manifested a life beyond our wildest dreams. All by having the courage to take the leap and ignore the naysayers.
We declared mutiny on the life we were handed. Now we are here to share how we did it with you.
Tune in for inspiring stories, manifestation techniques, and real advice. We'll show you the steps to flip your mindset, your money, and your life.
Welcome to the Mutiny Model.
Ready to join the rebellion? Let's chart your course.
Welcome to the Mutiny Model, guys. We are here, back. Happy Friday. We always release on a Friday. We're always empowering your strategic rebellion. Every week, we hope to leave you guys with inspiration, with tips on whatever you want to go do, whether that's starting a new business, making a major change in your life. If you're coming here, if you're listening to our podcast, you are not satisfied with the norm, you are not satisfied with the status quo, you're here to make waves, to make some noise. So let's do that. Today we're diving into a really cool topic. My name is Stephanie, and this is my handsome husband, Patrick. How are you doing today,
WB
babe?
here. I am doing excellent. I'm doing great. Looking forward to this episode because it flowed from the last one into this one.
Yep.
And we got a lot to talk about. We had a lot to talk about the last one, but I'm looking forward to this one as well.
This is a part 2. We really thought we were going to fit all that into one episode last week.
No, we can actually add more to episode
That
1.
was crazy of us. Yeah.
It's very good. I can't wait. Looking forward to this.
So we tied it up last week, and we were kind of talking about if you do want to get into real estate, and if this is how you want to manifest your wealth and your path. What does that look like? We touched on how much money you could make, what is the income potential, and what would your schedule look like if you were to reach that income potential, $100,000 a year, $300,000 a year. We talked a little bit about coaching and how that's important, especially in your first year as an agent. Mm-hmm. And now we're kind of talking about, being an agent is great. It has a lot of advantages to it. You have some time freedom. You are a business owner. You have freedom of your own schedule. Yeah. But some of the downsides to it, you don't have a 401k. A lot of agents don't do well with their retirement plan, don't really think. We've seen people that just don't think ahead, and they're like showing houses at 70 years old. Mm-hmm. That's not the vibe.
Yeah, well, not for us at least.
That's not the vibe for us.
Yeah.
So you got to transition into real estate investing. Well, you don't have to, but that's what we did. And we're here to teach you.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
Well, I think we naturally just want to share that because we've made a life for ourselves, a life that one would consider like a good life, right? Mm-hmm. And what that is for every person that's different. There are people who would think like getting a square meal a day is a great life, And perspective. I don't want to like be a downer here. Yeah. And then there are people who say they upgraded their yacht to the biggest yacht, and that's a good life, So it's different levels, but again, it goes back to happiness. We preach happiness, mm-hmm. So whatever that looks like. So I think naturally we just always want to share our journey. And so that's why you said real estate, but it's not for everybody. Just like, hey, if you're 70 and you want to be shown houses and that makes you happy, that makes you happy.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Like I said, not the vibe for us, but that's true.
Yeah.
But so one of the big advantages that you wrapped up the show with last week was the income potential of being an agent, where you can get those chunks of money to make those down payments on some of those investment properties that you want, be they flips, be they Airbnbs, be they long-term rentals, right? Mm-hmm. So I just want to touch really quick. So being an agent, I'm going to go down the line of, I guess, my top few things where if you're going to be an investor, if you do want to take a couple of years and get experience as an agent, this is how it's going to help you. First thing is the money. We touched on that, right? Mm. Second big thing is the transactional experience. Yep. Just understanding how a transaction works from beginning to end, understanding a little bit of contract law, understanding contingencies, title, inspections, things like that. Mm-hmm. What rights do you have as the buyer? What rights do they have as the seller? That's invaluable, right? Correct. When you go into actually now you're the buyer, mm-hmm. you're buying the property. And also learning how to just mastering property valuation.
Correct.
Learning how to, what is the process? Okay, if I was going to put your house on the market, what's my process to figure out what would I price it for, right? What's the list price? What's it valued at? If an appraiser came through tomorrow, what's their range, right? We know appraisers have their own opinions, so we're not going to get into that. It can be a range, but just getting into that learning curve, diving into that data on the MLS, then you just know it. You don't have to go and ask an agent, what do you think this will be worth if I flip it? It's something that you already know. So that's super valuable. You already have access to the MLS. So again, you don't have to depend on an agent to be looking for properties for you.
MLS stands for Multiple Listing Service, for those of you that,
Yeah, thank you.
I'm very aware of that.
I know
sometimes.
I go quick sometimes, and I know
and that's people.
Yeah.
And that's how you have access to look at properties in any given state, city, town, and so forth, right? So you have access as agents. You have access to that.
Yep, as a licensed agent. And then sometimes when you buy your own property as an agent, the seller is offering you a commission if you're licensed, and you can roll that into the deal. You can apply it towards your closing costs. There's a lot of creative things that you can do with it. The other day, we got a flip under contract, and we went up against 10 other offers, and we got the offer. But the reason that we got it is because we waived that commission.
Correct.
They were offering every agent 2%, and all the other people that offered, they wanted the 2%, and we were like, no, we want to flip it. We're going to make our money on the back end. You keep the 2%.
Yep.
If we weren't licensed agents, we wouldn't have had that option,
Correct.
right? So that got us that deal.
Yep.
And let's see how much money that deal is going to make us. We'll let you guys know. We'll be like, that was worth $70K, right?
Yeah.
we don't-
$700K.
well,
Oh,
yeah, we'll see. We gotta start doing bigger flips.
Jesus. That's right.
That would be nice.
That's the goal.
So you get that transaction experience, you get that negotiation experience, you get the relationships, right? When we look up properties now, we'll look at a property in Laconia, we're like, oh, we know that agent, you get to know people too. So all of that stuff, all of that helps. Is there anything from that list that I just mentioned that like really stands out to you that you're like, yeah, this is like invaluable?
So again, taken from my mishaps from when I was a new agent.
I love that word. Your mishaps. Go off, Willie. Tell us.
Who and where you work when you first start could matter in this sense, right? Because what I was missing when I first started was that training, right?
Yeah.
And this is where I have to give a shout out to a company as Keller Williams.
Yeah. Yep.
Shout out to Keller Williams, KW for short. The company is a very good company that when you're a new agent, they give very good trainings, very good trainings for the new agent who wants to understand real estate, how to do transactions. Again, the trainings are valuable. It's teaching you essentially. I tell a new agent coming into the game, if you once you want to get licensed, if there's something you want to do, you may want to explore. The first name that comes to mind is like Keller Williams because we were there. We started our team, our very first team there. Yeah. And we love the company. We love the agents there, and to this day we still keep in touch.
KW in Salem.
In Salem, New Hampshire. Shout out to all the awesome agents from Allison to Kevin Gettings. I'm gonna say names: Melanie Norcross, Catherine Zerba, Sala. There's so many names there. Yep. Sorry if I forget you. Ash, everybody. Mary Beth, everybody. I'm sorry. There's so many friends there. But as a new agent, you get to do those trainings. It's invaluable. Yeah. So for me, if I had that training when I first got into the business, it probably would have accelerated my success more sooner.
You would have made more than $600 that first year.
I bet everything on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I take those L's, I call it, and I learn from it. Yeah. My email tagline says, "I never lose. I either win or I learn." Yeah. And I truly believe that.
Well, challenges and limitations develop style. Right.
Say that again.
Challenges and limitations develop style.
T-shirt. Boom. Steph's always dropping gems. That's awesome. I like that.
It's good, right?
That's a good one.
It's so true, because if you're doing something and it's easy the whole time and you don't have a challenge, how can you figure out Patrick's way of being an agent?
You're true.
Right? If you're sitting there and you're dry, you got no deals.
Yeah.
You got nothing.
Dry?
You're like, I have no closings
You'll
next.
just
My
be dry.
pipeline is dry.
To be dry is bad. This is wild.
We've been there.
That's wild work.
We've been there.
I know.
Right? It's crazy work.
I know.
And it's like, that is when the magic happens. That is
Where the growth
that's
happens.
the sauce, right?
that's
Because
it.
then you're like, okay, what do I do? Do I make a new website? What do I do? Do I hire a coach? What do I do? And if you can push through that, if you can power through that and not give up, that's where it's like the riches, the rainbow is on the other side.
Well, that's where the statistic
know?
come from. In that moment when you hit your hurdle, your first hurdle, or it could be your second or third or whatever. But when you get to that point where you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm struggling, this is suffering. If you're able to get over the hurdle, right? You're going to be in the statistics of the agent that makes it in the business.
Yes.
A lot of people quit right there. That thing, what you just said, they quit. They say, this ain't for me. They don't try to use grit and get through it and figure it out. Mind you, you're more than likely, I mentioned Keller Williams, some of the very best agents are in these companies. And all you got to do is tap into that, tap into knowledge, tap into their. I have never met an agent that, well, let me say never. There are way more agents out there that are willing to share their secrets, their blueprints, their.
Well, especially the successful ones.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, you don't want to hear from.
Well, that's why I said something. I changed. I said all agents. No.
We got to look at who we're taking advice from.
Yes.
Have they been where
Quality.
you want to go?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you look around the
Yeah.
office, you literally could know who's getting. I'll go in somebody's office and be like, "Ooh, they have awards on their
Yep.
walls."
Go to
They
the
know
award
some-
people.
I'm going to the award people.
Go to the award people.
I'm not going to the agent who's complaining every day.
Not to the
who's
mimosa
crying,
people.
Who's saying the market's going to crash.
Yeah.
Who's not. That's one of the
Nervous.
things. That's one of the things
Freaking
I
out.
used to grow in the business. I gravitated to the agents who are positive,
Yeah.
who had a great outlook on life in the market,
Yeah.
who's looking to grow
Yep.
and be more successful. Then the other agents who are just like, depressed and sad and angry and like just cussing at everything and not looking at
Because
themselves
the
in
business
the mirror.
calls in all kinds.
Right. And saying,
Yeah.
maybe I'm the problem, right?
Yeah,
You gotta look
yeah.
at yourself in the mirror. So I do that. So anyways,
Yeah.
but no, so KW training invaluable. That was the question you had for me. The
Yeah,
training
I was saying, like, being an investor, how did that help you? How did being an agent help you to become an investor? Yeah, so there are so many ways where being an agent does help you to become an investor. Can you become an investor right off the bat and not take that route of being an agent? Absolutely. But how did it help you personally having that experience? Now that you're an investor, right?
Yeah.
Having the experience as an agent. What are your thoughts?
Well, I feel like, again, the trainings from like anyone given brokerage could educate you, right? So to teach you things, the trainings. I like to mention KW, Keller Williams, for like doing awesome trainings for newer agents. And the more you do the training, you just get more education on that route for when you get to when you want to invest. You've learned so much about the business, right? So I think that's one invaluable thing I would say. As being an agent, then later transition into an investor, that you get to learn in real time.
Yeah.
Like
Beginning to end, transaction, all that stuff.
Yeah, because
What's an appraisal, right? Like this stuff you don't know.
You because hopefully is when you work with buyers and sellers, your first year or two in the business, your client list grows to now investors take notice. So you're gonna work with investors at some point if you get good at what you do in the business.
Yeah.
And then so when you're doing those transactions for those investors, you're gonna apply it to yourself. How much more better you're gonna do for yourself?
All the mistakes and all the good. Yeah,
you're gonna learn.
All the good,
You're gonna learn. So you're gonna
That's right.
know what to do and what not to do. So that's what happened to us, essentially. So yeah, that's what I would say about that.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So let's dive into the three main types of investing that at least that we have experience in and that we can teach you about, because we can't teach you about investing in office buildings. We haven't done that. What we've done is we've invested in Airbnbs, we've invested in long-term rentals or multifamilies, and we still flip houses to this day. So we're going to touch on how being an agent, helped us to make that transition and what that looks like to transition full-time into being an investor. Let's kick it off with multi-unit investing, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's important to mention that even if you haven't started out as an agent, you can get into multi-unit investing. And you really want to look into what is called house hacking.
House hacking, yes. House hacking.
So here's the thing, guys. The biggest barrier if you want to start investing in real estate, and let's just say you rent, right? You don't have $100,000 in the bank. You're living week to week and you're like, I want my freedom. I want to invest. The biggest barrier is you're going to talk to a loan officer and they're going to say, okay, great. You can buy an investment property. It's going to be 20 to 25% down for a 2-unit or whatever the case may be. There's a hack. There's a hack to that.
Speak on. Go on.
If you move into the property, you can buy up to a 4-unit using this technique. If you live in the property, you can put 0% down, 3% down, 3.5% down, 5% down. Okay? So this is what house hacking is. This is you're buying a $400,000 property and you don't have to come up with $100,000 for the down payment. You're coming up with maybe 20, 30, including your closing
30,
costs.
yeah.
And you're getting into the property. You're living in the property. We're not committing no fraud here. We are living in the property we say we're going to live in. Okay, we don't mess with any. We don't advise any of that. So it's an owner occupied deal, right? So let's say you got a 4-unit. You live in the property. The tenants are covering most of your mortgage, and based on what your mortgage documents say, you can move out at some point.
Yes.
Some mortgage documents say 12 months, some 6 months. I've maybe seen 2 years once, but people think like, oh, I got to live in this property for 5 years. Nope.
That's not typically
Read
the
your
case.
mortgage documents.
Yeah, I know. Read them. Read
And
them.
then, can you imagine if you just rinse and repeat that?
Yeah.
Right? We've seen it. Honestly, guys, it's rare for people to do this because a lot of people say they're going to do it, and then, reality kind of hits or whatever. But just imagine if you buy a 3 or a 4-unit every 2 years, what would your life look like in 10 years?
Yeah. No.
And you use that hack, and you can use that hack almost every time.
Yeah.
Right? You gotta talk to a loan officer. I think we should maybe have a loan officer on at one point to talk about those details and stuff. I used to be a loan officer. I'm not anymore. So I don't know the latest and greatest rules and regulations with that, right?
Yep. No, we still check in with our loan officers every now and then, regularly, to keep
times
us
a week.
updated on the market. And we need education too, so we'll check in. We have a few very good ones that we've worked with for years.
Yeah.
And they're great. So but no, that is the idea. You get in there and you buy your first property in the best way possible, in the most cost-effective
Lowest
way
money down.
possible.
Yeah.
In my case, I qualify for the VA loan
Yeah.
because I'm a veteran.
Yeah.
So I was able to buy our very first property with using the VA loan,
Which is zero money down.
which is 0 money down.
It's an amazing program. So any veterans listening, reach out to us, message us. We can hook you up with a loan officer that is familiar with those programs.
Yeah.
So and then some people, you'll see ads and get started in real estate investing. Take my course, 0 money down. Get started for no money. A lot of those are a little scammy, so you got to be careful. But what some people do is they do move into the property, and whatever the closing costs are, whatever the down payment is, they have a partner, right? They have a partner. They find someone that has money that wants to invest, and they say, okay, I have no money. You put up your money. That's what all those zero down things are, really. That's what they are. It's like you're learning to use OPM, which in the business, what we call other people's money.
OPM. Your father loves OPM.
Dad loves OPM.
Mm-hmm. Smart.
Yep. No, it is. It is. So there's so many creative ways you can do it, but you have to be gritty and you have to be creative. And when you hit a roadblock, you just got to either blast through it or go around it, because real estate investing it's not rocket science. It's like, it's not easy, but it's not hard either. And I know that sounds crazy, right? But it's like, it's not rocket science. It's grit.
No.
It's grit.
It is grit. It is grit. And again, I always like to reel it back in. It's not for everybody.
That's true too. That's true too. And that's what we talked about last episode.
We're talking about the great parts, the good, the positives off this side of the business. Mm-hmm. You know, I know people that have gotten into real estate and figured this is not for them.
Yep.
You know?
You may watch the Mutiny Model and you may rule out real estate and be like, you know what? That sounds terrible.
Right.
And
I would
then
want
you
to
go
say,
and you invent
no.
an amazing product and you start your own business. We're here to just inspire you to step out of the norms,
Correct.
right? To step out of that 9-to-5 job, to step out of what everyone else is telling you to do, and to kind of follow your heart and your dreams.
Yep.
We're sharing our real estate journey with you, but really, guys, this could be anything. You could start your photography business, right?
Yeah.
Like, the sky's
anything.
the
Sky's
limit.
the
The sky's the limit.
I know we say that all. It's like broken records. The sky's the limit, but it's true. It's true. We really believe that.
Yeah.
Really believe that. I think you and I have just been fortunate too, because we both are aligned in the sense that we share the same likes.
Yeah.
We like, you know, we love real estate. You know?
Yeah, we love
being entrepreneurs.
We like our freedom. We like the challenge of it.
So we're aligned now.
Yeah, we're actually kind of sick. Like we're.
Please clarify that for the people, so I don't know which way this is going.
I mean, we're crazy. When we were
Again,
first
please
starting in the
clarify
business,
for the viewers on this one.
we like to take risks. How's that?
Oh, yes. Yes.
I remember when we were starting out as agents, we would have deals going on, and if there was something that went wrong with the deal, we were not paying our mortgage that month.
Yeah.
We would just be like, well, we'll see it next month. We'll catch it next month. We'll catch it next month.
Panic attack.
Right?
I know people off the top of my head that would have a panic attack.
Oh my God. There was
that
no
instance.
consistent paycheck. There was nothing. But
Yeah.
we were like, we trusted ourselves. We dove into it.
Mm-hmm.
We worked our butts off, and it all worked out. It all one day just came raining down from the heavens. I feel like, right? But there was a lot of anxiety that would have and I was a basket case at some points.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Listen, I have to say this because we are in this part of the show.
Yeah.
I have to share it. Remember in the office one year, we had all our deals on the board that was literally on fire. I called them, meaning like things were going haywire.
Mercury was in retrograde. I'm sure.
Oh man, everything was going wrong. Like I think it was
We had
11 deals on the board.
11 or 12.
I'll never forget.
Yeah, under
And
contract.
I remember in the middle of the day, you were working on the computer, and I said, Steph, I need 5 minutes. And when I say I lay down in the fetal position in the middle of the office, and I just needed to, whether I cried, whether I just closed my eyes and shivered,
it almost took you out.
I did it.
Almost
guys.
took you out.
It's not for the faint of heart. It's not.
We got to get that we got to post that picture.
I don't think we have a picture of
I
that.
took a picture of you.
Did you?
Hell yeah, I did. Hell yeah, I did. It was funny.
And people hear this,
Because I was like barking orders at you. I was like, we're gonna go to this home inspection. This person's crying. I'm gonna call the crier. You're gonna call the inspector.
call this attorney.
You're gonna call the attorney. That person's mad. It was crazy. And you were like, whoa, stop.
Yeah. Pull myself.
But you know what, honey? You were grounding. Now we know what that was.
I know. I pulled it together. P-I-T. Pull it together. That's what I do.
P-I-T?
And then I K-I-T. Keep it together after that.
You're my rock. You're very steady. You're my rock.
I've been known. I call myself your manager. I manage you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyways, let's go back to the
I
subject
need to be
matter.
managed.
Yes, I know
God
this.
knows.
I've been doing this for a third of my life. Yeah. So again, it's not for the. So we're not here. It's just the peaches and cream of the real estate business.
Yeah, we
want to
be real about
investing.
Yeah.
No, it's not easy, but it is, like you said, right?
It is. It's hard to explain.
Not easy, but it is. I think I think, okay, this is how I break it down. I got so much more comfortable in this business once I knew the business inside and out, right? It took years for that. For me to feel comfortable. Some people are quick learners, some people take time to learn, whatever. My point is, like, once I got in the right culture, the right trainings, the right coaches, business coaches, and you learn and you get comfortable and you know what you're doing. You know what you're talking. I can tell people, I do real estate in my sleep. Like, it's just like if you go to a doctor who's been practicing for 40 years and, you know, they're doing a brain surgery.
They're just sick with it.
They can go and just get in there
Yeah.
and open the brain and fix it up.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. I'm like the real estate doctor. I can answer. And you know what? I'm human. What I mean by that, there are situations that come up where it may need a bit of figuring out. So if I don't have the answer, I always tell people, I'll get you the answer, because we know so many people around us.
Resources.
From mentors to coaches to attorneys to peers of ours, that I can pick up a phone and be like, hey, I haven't encountered this thing. What do I do? What's the answer? And they'll give it to me. And I'll get back to that client or that person who's looking for that answer. So yeah, don't go Googling things. Some things are Googleable. I made that word up, Googleable. But just call me and I'll get you an answer. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's get back.
So with multi-unit investing, there are low barriers of entry to get into it. If you own or occupy the property, right? You can only do that up to 4 units. Anything 5 units and above is a commercial loan, and you cannot own or occupy it. That's always 25% down. In rare cases, you can get a 20% down loan on that. But usually, you have to be an experienced investor. So that's a catch-22 if it's your first property, right?
Sure.
So moving on, Airbnb investing, that's something that we've done too.
Yep.
And that is really its own beast. You know, you really have to hook yourself up with an agent who, you almost want an agent that's done it, which is hard to find in every, you know, I know we have people listening to this podcast all over the world, right?
Yeah.
So you want to try to find someone that's done it, because what's tough about Airbnbs is analyzing them.
Yep.
So when you have a rental, you know the market rates. You know, okay, I have 4 units and they're all bringing in $1,500 a month. Boom. With an Airbnb, that's really difficult. There is a product I recommend. It's called AirDNA. If you're trying to go in and analyze Airbnbs, there is a monthly fee for it, but it's like anything. You sign up for a couple months and use it, and then you can cancel the subscription. They tell you, they have a lot of good data on average rental rates and stuff like that, but still, it's not like Bible. You know, it's not like
set in stone.
Right. So analyzing an Airbnb can be really tough. We found that the most successful, so our Airbnb kind of area is like the White Mountains of New Hampshire. You want to be in a vacation spot. You know, a lot of cities have rules and regulations against Airbnbs, so it's not really even viable to have short-term rentals in cities now anyways. So you want to be going after popular vacation spots, places with a lot of attractions around them. And you want to, network with agents that are in the area, figure out how popular is this place, how many people come through in the summer. The seasonality of it can be really popular. Our Airbnb is in the White Mountains, and it's very popular in the summer. And it's kind of slower in the winter. But it's so weird, like February surprises us. It's always booked in February.
Yeah.
And we're like, what is it about February?
Well, because skiers, remember? The snow, the people, the folks that go snowboarding.
It's not like
skiing.
we're like 5 minutes from a mountain. So we're like 30 minutes from a lot of mountains. So it just like surprised me. But
our place is very beautiful. It's a log cabin
our place
in
is
the mountains,
cozy.
You know, if I may say so myself. We did okay in this one. This one's good.
It is.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, the feedback was really surprising.
Yeah.
I was like, why are you coming here in February? You know, like, hey. And they were like, oh, because you have a wood stove.
Yeah, well.
And so many people said that to me. And I would have never sat and analyzed my Airbnb and been like, well, we're going to be real busy in February because of that wood stove. Right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that it's a learning curve.
It's a magical place, though.
It's fun. It's so magical.
It's very private, you know, so think the setting of it, and yeah, so we did well. We did well.
But what we did with that, we bought that and fixed it up, right? So if we, just a note on getting back to analyzing the Airbnbs, it's pretty rare that you're going to find an Airbnb all set to go, gorgeous, fully furnished, that's going to cash flow.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So a lot of times what you have to do is find that beat up log cabin, find that good location house, but it needs a new roof, and then go in, do the work, fix it up, and you always have to budget for furniture. So furniture on a house could cost you anywhere from 15 to 30 grand, depending how hard you want to go on the decor.
Yeah.
You know, and honestly, Airbnb is getting a little bit more competitive these days. There's Vrbo as well. Me and Vrbo don't get along, but it exists. I'll tell you that.
You beefing with Vrbo?
I'm not going to get into it. So it's getting more competitive, right? And so basically, like, you can't like go half-ass with the furnishing and the decor on your Airbnb if you're going to buy one. You have to pick your theme. You have to decide, this is a lake house. This is a lake theme. I'm hiring an interior designer. If I can't do it myself, I'm going to hire the right person to do it. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it beyond just let me find a pretty house, because that's the appeal of it. It's like, oh my God, I own this extra house and then I can go there whenever I want. Because guess what? You're not going to go there as much as you think you're going to go there.
Right. No, and I tell people, just to add on to what you've said, things you need to do for an Airbnb. Make sure if you get into that, buy something where you like to go vacationing. It doesn't make any sense to get an Airbnb property if it's somewhere you do not like to go to. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Unless it's like your 10th property or something.
Yeah, right. I'm talking about for the first one.
But yeah, for the first one.
For the first one. There is a something to be said for if you buy something that you could just make money on, and you're strictly business and you understand that, you know what, I don't care if it's in some kind of desert, but it makes a ton of money, and you're like, you know what, I don't care if I ever go there, I'm making money. Sure. However, for us, what we did was we bought something that we know we can go and enjoy it ourselves. I mean, what's doing all this work if you don't take the time to enjoy the fruits of your labor? That's kind of like, what if...
We should go to the cabin.
Yeah, let's go.
We should go. I'm going next week.
I sometimes forget we own a cabin, and that sounds real bougie, but I really do. Well, because you run it. You and Allison run the operations of that.
And running it is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, guys, you own a hotel. If you own an Airbnb, you own a hotel.
You're in the hospitality
You're
business.
in the hospitality space.
Yes.
So we're talking about either you have to do this or you have to hire someone to do it. But we got to talk about towels. We got to talk about soap. We got to talk about having a space that's so clean that no one could even find a speck of dust. Because guess what? They'll leave you a bad review.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, those reviews. I got my 4.8. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
But sometimes people will give you a 4 and they're like, left you a great review. And you're like, thanks. What was that? What's going on? And they're like, and you're like, what was wrong? And they're like, oh, everything was perfect.
You're right.
No, so that's annoying. But because you got to stay high in the algorithm, right, to get the bookings. And then you can also have your own website, which is really smart to do as well, where it's like you're not depending on Airbnb. So the point is, it can be a great investment vehicle, but it's its own whole thing to learn about.
Correct.
There are courses out there on it.
YouTube. Go on YouTube.
Go on YouTube.
Start there.
Learn about it. We recommend that. Depends on where you live. Do you live in a vacation town already? Maybe you want to buy a house a few streets over. Really depends on your personal situation. Okay. If Airbnb investing is right for you. So
what I say lastly, and when it comes to this Airbnb side, before we move on to another one, is part of what helped me, because there's fear sometimes when you're about to make a leap, buy a thing.
Especially if you don't know how much money you're going to make every month.
Right.
We really had no clue.
Yeah. However, one thing that always helped me sleep at night when we bought an Airbnb property was like, you know what? If you wake up after 6 months, a year later, you can always sell the asset.
Worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
You you can always sell it.
Yeah.
Boom. That's it. Hopefully the property is appreciated and you can walk away with a few bucks or break even.
Yeah.
But, you know, in this market, in our region at least, real estate continues to appreciate. So if you own it for, let's say, a year and you're just tired of doing this thing and you like, oh, you know what, I thought it would be easier. It's not fun for you, whatever the case is, you sell the property and, again, hopefully you walk away with a little bit of money at least.
Yeah.
You know, so that helped me. So
Yep.
if you're watching this, you're contemplating it, just know there is that last resort. But if you stick with it, more likely you figure it out and you're going to do well.
Most people do well. Most people do well. Just, again, knowing what you're getting into and educating yourself on the space is huge.
Yep.
Huge. So that's the nitty-gritty on Airbnb investing. So heading into the third form of investing we're going to talk about today, flipping, right?
Yep.
So I think it's important for people to know first off that flipping is a very active source of real estate income.
Not passive.
Not passive, right? So long-term, so the multifamilies and the Airbnbs, those can be pretty passive once you set them up, if you have the right people in place as far as property managers. Flipping is kind of, you're in it.
Yep.
Right. And it's like any business. Of course, you can build it and you can hire the right people, acquisitions people, sales managers, and all that to eventually get yourself out of it. But we're real on this show. And honestly, it's going to take you a couple of years.
We're keeping it 100.
It's going to take you a couple of years if you're going to be serious about starting out flipping and then forming a flipping company. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's just being, like you said, being real. Would any flipper want to be able to say their flipping business is passive? Absolutely. So you can work up to that.
You can work up to it.
We know
Yeah.
we have friends that are very successful at this, and they always have projects going.
Yeah.
That's what you want, to keep your guys going.
And you always talk about 3 important components to a flipping company. So what are those?
Yeah, so this is when somebody asks me. There could be somebody that's trying to, that's curious about what I do because, we do so many different things. When it comes to flipping, to make it short, I just say there are 3 components to flipping. You got to have capital. That's the money. You got to have the money. In our case, let's just use us as an example. Being in business for so many years, you build your capital slowly over time.
Yeah.
And now you have whatever you have sitting, a few bucks sitting in your bank account. Are you ready to dive into that? So you got to have capital.
Yeah, flipping is not something you can get into with no money down.
No. You got to have cap. You got to even plan for the unexpected, I call it, right?
Yeah.
So that's for things to go south, which nobody wants, but it happens. It happens. So you got to have capital, and you got to have the asset, the property, the distressed property in this case.
To find the property.
You got to find the property.
My problem.
The headache. You got to have the headache, okay? It's a good headache. The headache could turn into a beautiful canopy afterwards.
Yeah.
All right? So you got money, got the asset. And lastly, you have to have, in my humble opinion, a very competent and reliable general contractor
So important.
that has a
So
crew
important.
of guys that they work with,
I remember I was having one of my meltdowns, as I do,
Okay.
maybe like 2 years ago. And I called you and I was like, I am done selling houses. I was like, I know how to find the deals. I was like, we're flipping. I was like, that's it. Because I call you and I make declarations, and I say, we're doing this now. And you say, okay, babe, cool, calm down. I'll talk to you later. But I was like, we got the money. I got the deals. Find me a GC. I'm done. I'm done selling houses. I don't know what I was mad about that day, but I'm glad that I was mad about it. Because you said, okay. And I was like, let's manifest this. And you went and found the best GC.
The best GC in the land. This man is our brother now. His family.
Shout out to Alex. Yep.
Shout out to my brother, Alex Marmol.
Yes.
The man, the legend. My guy.
Yeah. So we're all set. We're set up now. So those are the first 3. Those are the things that's the pillars that you need in place in order to have a successful flipping company. You need lead sources, you need some capital, and you need your GC.
Yep.
So so you have your 3 pillars, right? So what kind of income can flipping really bring you? Because there's definitely a lot of TV shows out there that show flipping, but a lot of them are just off.
Don't go off of that. Please don't go off what you see on HGTV, the flipping show, whatever they call them, Property Brothers, right? That's one.
Yeah.
They inflate those numbers are crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not real life.
So it's like anything, right? You can make $5,000 on a flip.
Yeah.
You can make $500K on a flip.
Yes.
It all depends. Let's talk about like reality and kind of like our typical deal.
I like
right?
reality.
So again, we flip in New England. If you have any distressed properties, please reach out. Give us a call. We're always willing to partner with people, right?
That's right.
If you want to learn how to flip and you bring us a deal, we will partner with you on a deal. So reach out, mutinymodel@gmail.com, send us an email, and we'll tell you exactly what that looks like.
I was going to jokingly say 1-800-WILLIE-B, but that's not it. Do the Gmail that she said, guys.
We're going to cut that out. That was cut that, Nick. All right. So like a typical deal, because a lot of people, they're like, oh my God, you bought that for $300 and you sold it for $550.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
You made $200,000. That's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So what people don't account for is you're paying closing costs twice.
Mm-hmm.
And those can really add up. Those can be 10 to 15 grand on the buy and 10 to 15 to 20 grand on the sell, depending on how many agents you're paying and how many agents are involved, right? So a very typical deal will buy something for $300K, let's say, for example. On that, your carrying costs, so this is like your interest if you're using a hard money lender or a private money lender. This is your closing costs on both sides. This is your taxes and insurance while you own the property and utilities while you own the property. Typically, carrying costs on something like that would be between $45,000 and $50K.
Okay.
All right. So, and then let's just say a typical property is going to be about $100K to renovate. So in that case, we have an ARV of $550. Put it on the market, you get $550 for it. You have $100,000 profit on that particular flip. We always try to strive for $100K on the profit, but definitely never, doesn't always work out. We've made more than $100K on some flips, and I think the lowest we've ever made was $35.
Yes.
Right?
Knock on wood. Never lost money on a deal.
Never lost money on a deal. Because I'm psycho about analyzing them.
Yes, I'm the gambler, and you're
You're
very,
like, just
very,
buy it. It'll be fine.
and you've saved me, saved my life. Because there's been deals that I after you think about or look, or when somebody else has done it, you're like, oh no, I was really pushing to buy that one. Cause in the moment, I wanted to gamble and say, let's do it. And then and it hasn't worked out. But for the most part, we've been fortunate. We've been guided by the divine.
Yep.
And yes, we've made profit on all our projects.
Yep.
Every single one.
So flipping can be great. And we really, we encourage people to get into it. Honestly, if you want advice to get started for flipping, partner with someone who's flipped. Don't do your first one by yourself. That is my biggest piece of advice. That is how we got started, guys. We were agents, and we partnered with our broker, who is Tom Caffarella at Cameron, and we partnered with him on our first couple because he does like 100 flips a year. He knows the business. And you look at flipping again on TV and you think that you can do it, and you think, but there's so much that you don't take into account for. You don't take into account for the building permits and that they're going to slow you down, and you think you're going to do it in a month, but that ain't going to happen because the electrical inspector is going to come out in 2 weeks and you can't do anything until they come out. Like, there's just a lot of logistics that go into it. And we really just recommend finding someone who's an experienced flipper and partnering with them for your first deal at least. Yes, you'll be splitting the profits. Yes, you won't make as much, but you probably won't lose money.
Yeah,
right.
Right.
So that's our biggest piece of advice. And I think we do want some feedback from you guys. Do you want us to do a training on flipping, some kind of a course or some kind of a Zoom mastermind type of thing? We do kind of see a lot of people reaching out to us that are interested in getting into flipping.
And we are gonna have meetings / trainings for those people already that
Yes. Yeah.
we have. But yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
but we
think
gotta
it'll be cool to see.
Think about doing something bigger, you know?
Again, we're willing to help, share knowledge, and help people grow. This is what this podcast is about. Let's all rebel together. Go back to the origins of the mutiny model. Let's all grow together. Let's all make money together. There's money out there. Let's get it together. Let's partner up. Let's do these things. Yeah. Let's grow as a team. I love the team setting. That's what this is. So that lights me up already. Just thinking of that, you know? Because again, our first flip, we partnered. Granted, when we look back at that particular deal, if we had done it ourselves, we would have made a lot of money on that deal. However, what are the things that could have went wrong because we didn't know how to do it?
Right.
So the training, the lesson, the knowledge we got from that, invaluable.
Priceless.
So I don't even regret it one bit.
Yeah.
I'm talking about it's over 6 figures. Now, I could be like, I paid $100,000 for this training, for this. There was a very good deal, I must admit.
It was good. Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
But I'm okay.
Hey, don't be salty.
I know, I'm not salty.
You look a little salty.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I like my friend.
So I think we're going to wrap up today's episode with all that being said. So thank you guys for watching. Please send in questions. Again, let us know what questions you have about all these avenues of investing if you are interested in getting into real estate. And please like, share, and subscribe. Please leave us a review up on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. We need those reviews to get boosted in the algorithm. Please share our episode on your social media, whether that's the YouTube link or whatever you tune in through. Please make sure you share it. We always appreciate that.
Yeah, if the foreigners can like and subscribe and share my channel, my Americans, my people, please help me. Help us.
Help me, help you.
Yes.
Right?
But we thank you guys, seriously. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching every week and all the text calls, feedback, messages, emails. It motivates us to keep going. That means we're doing something right. And again,
absolutely.
We truly enjoy doing this, and we're gonna keep sharing and keep helping as many people as we can.
Yes.
All right?
Yes. So we got more episodes coming at you every Friday, and please make sure to check out the Rising Rose Foundation. That is our charity in Southern New Hampshire, and also check out our sister podcast, The Banter Booth.
The Banter Booth with Shane Misery.
Hold on.
What's that?
Okay, that's better. So please check out our sister podcast, The Banter Booth.
The Banter Booth.
For all things ridiculousness, fun, entertainment, reactions, with the one and only Willie B.
And my brother, Shane Misery.
You can find them up on YouTube and anywhere else you can watch podcasts.
Josh Ovaris.
And shout out to the real General Josh.
That's right.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning into the Mutiny Model. We love you. We'll see you next week.